If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content. What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I am Necrotic Nick.
And I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. So, on the 29th of May, Sorcerer released their third full-length album, Lamenting of the Innocent. This comes out on Metal Blade Records. This band formed in 1988 in Stockholm, broke up in 1992 and then reformed in 2010 and have been steadily releasing albums since. This band also features former members of Tiamat, Therion, and surprisingly, Chimera from Cleveland. Apparently their drummer Richard Evanson actually spent a couple of years in there before Kevin Talley joined. So I thought that was kind of interesting. There's a little bit of a tie to Ohio here.
Yeah.
This band plays a really awesome blend of epic doom metal and almost sort of traditional heavy metal. And the results are pretty spectacular. I didn't pick up their last album, and I'm going to have to now because I think I slept on it because this new album seems to continue what people were raving about on the last album.
Yeah.
Now, it opens up with a really cool intro called Persecution, and generally I bitch about intros, but this one is fiercely musical. It's just a really cool lead-in. It's the solid build-up. It's not samples, it's not a movie excerpt, it's actual music.
It's actual music, and it's abrupt too, and it's really loud when the speakers turned up really loud.
Well, you know, whatever. Didn't check the volume.
Peed a little bit.
It's metal. It's supposed to be loud. That goes into the Hammer of the Witches and leads in beautifully. And man, this band has Candlemass written all over them. And we're definitely going to be referencing that band again later on in this review for sure. But right away, it has that mix of giant epic vocals, which their vocalist Anders Engberg delivers a absolutely killer performance across the board.
It's really good. It doesn't stop being good at any time.
It feels so natural. His range is quite impressive, but he stays within his range. There's nothing on there that sounds forced, and it's amazing what he can really convey in terms of changing the mood of a song, like whether it's supposed to be soaring and epic or downtrodden, sullen.
Well, and not only does it not sound forced, and it sounds really good, there's no effect on it. Like, It sounds like really raw and clean, like it's dude's actual voice.
It does.
Is fucking nasty.
It's just a really cool balance between, like, he's a really excellent singer, he has a beautiful voice, but it also has a gruffness to it, like that leather-lunged sort of sound. Like, it keeps it still very metal.
Yeah, I mean, it's very sing-songy, but it's not too high, it's not too low, it's just right in that middle pocket. It's like the bear in Goldilocks where it was perfect.
He is the just right porridge of metal, is what Jammin John's saying there, which is the most odd comparison I've heard yet.
Something I bring to the table, you're welcome.
This whole sound is a really interesting mix, again, of like classic heavy metal and epic doom metal. And you can really hear it, like, there are moments where you think it's going to soar to like almost those power metal heights and get like kind of cheesy maybe, but right when you think it's about to soar, it drops you back down to the dungeons. Like, you don't get to go to the heavens, you get to go to the dungeons, and you feel sullen, depressive, and all that wonderful, you know, melancholy stuff.
All that wonderful feel-good stuff.
The title track, quite possibly one of my favorite tracks on here. My God, this band can build a giant chorus, and I love pretty much every chorus on this album, but this one is just particularly good. And it's just how they build up to it. Opens up with a nice big doom-laden riff. There's a really cool sort of bend in the riff itself, and it just, I don't know, it just echoes like Black Sabbath.
Well, the guitar work on this record is absolutely phenomenal. I didn't have a single complaint. In fact, we jammed it for Shred. He came in while we were listening to the end of the record, and he said Yngwie all the way. So. Yep.
And I figured that was a pretty good, you know, comparison there. And as soon as he heard it, we asked a guitarist's opinion, and he got pretty much what we were getting. This song in particular builds so well into the lead with like this clean breaks and then building tension. And man, these guys know how to build up pre-choruses. You don't hear that too much in a lot of metal bands. These guys really know how to use a pre-chorus to build up to the even bigger chorus.
Yeah, to the even bigger epic chorus. The whole song from start to finish, it builds perfectly, it crescendos perfectly, It
closes beautifully. The lead section's beautiful. Like, these guys really labored excellent structure in their songs. Like, these are meticulously crafted. Either that or they just came natural. It's like, yeah, I just had this perfect song lying around. Now, there are a lot of songs that definitely follow that more sullen epic doom that kind of borders on like a dirge or even kind of ballady, but it's definitely more melody focused. But there are some really good heavy songs on here too. Insidious, this song brings up the tempo to kind of a classic Judas Priest or Ozzy Osbourne like stomp to it. Very driving rhythm. Again, huge chorus. But this one is decidedly like just kind of a classic heavy metal stomper of a song, and it is carried by these great chuggy riffs. And I'd say a great lead, but every single song has great lead work.
Dude.
Both their guitarist, Christian Niemann, or Niemann, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, you're awesome.
Yeah, you're fucking great, brother.
And Peter Halgren. Both of these guys do consistent lead trade-offs on here, and it's almost like dueling leads. A lot of this reminded me of the balance between like Michael Amott and Bill Steer on Heartwork. How they traded off leads, and both their leads were very distinct. You can actually pick apart who was playing at the time because their tones were different.
Unless they harmonize the leads, which they do in a couple songs.
They're gorgeous.
In Where the Spirits Die, at least the whole beginning of that song just screams Maiden all the way, between the vocal harmonies and the guitar harmonies that go back and forth.
Like Maiden at their most somber, but it still has that epic feel to it. And that's the thing that kind of drives back that kind of classic heavy metal feel that's on here. Now, one of the standouts for both of us was surprisingly the softest song on the album.
Technically the ballad.
Dirge.
Or the
Dirge ballad.
Yep.
Deliverance, which is a vocal duet between their frontman Anders Engberg and Johan Lindqvist. I think that's how you say his name. I'm sorry, man. Who is the frontman of Candlemass, and how appropriate of a guy to get in there.
Yeah.
Great harmonies in this. I like how they trade off, and you can hear how distinct both voices are. Johan's voice is more of a baritone, whereas Anders has a more tenor range, and it's just beautiful. Very
sullen and somber. There's no drums. There's a little bit of, like, cymbal.
Yeah, some chimes.
A little bit of, like, light cymbal, maybe some chimes, but there's just beautiful guitar. And cellos, and a light synth behind it, and it's really a dark song, but it's
somehow uplifting.
Yeah.
It's just because you're just kind of drawn in by this really gorgeous melody that carries it.
And as if the Dirge song wasn't good enough, coming right after it, Age of the Damned, just the really beefy, chuggy riff with a half-time drum beat over it. The perfect lead-in coming out of a song like that.
And that was the thing on this album, is the pacing. Like, none of these songs really run together. A lot of them have that similar feel in terms of what they're going for, but some of them amplify one thing rather than the other. Some songs actually go for more of that epic heavy metal feel. Some of them go for the more straightforward doom feel. And they seem to excel at both. And when they blend the two into like giant songs, like the last song, Path of Perdition, which might be like one of the best closing songs, if we're not counting the bonus track on here, I've heard on an album this year.
Well, first of all, the lead work in the intro that lasts a good minute and a half, and then the lead work in the middle of that song.
You get two sets of dueling leads, and these guys are going back and forth, and I have to say it was a tie. Because, my God, both these guitarists just seem to feed off of each other. And it isn't just like the lead work. The riff work is really on point. They don't try to go too outlandish on the riffs. They just try to give that nice, solid backbone to the song.
Yeah.
And, man, these songs are just driven. They're very emotional. And a lot of that is definitely due to the vocalist. When he switches around, like, on Condemned versus Age of the Damned, Age of the Damned, he has a more sinister tone in a lot of spots. And it kind of meshes with the mood of that song, because that song is notably heavier than some of the other ones. It actually has a nice big breakdown riff in it. And then, if he wants to get soaring and epic, you have the title track, which, my God, that chorus just builds to such heights. This is quite a listen. And the bonus track in here I thought was excellent too, and you got to hear what they sound like under a different mix. And I think the only thing that really changed was the guitars were a little bit more raw sounding, a little bit chunkier.
Yep. Had like a little crunch to them versus the just really clean tone they have over everything else.
Very layered production too. Like, they really just amped up the Epic. There are keyboards on here too, but they're used very well. Like, they're not really out front, and most of it's just a lot of different effects to sort of heighten the mood.
Yeah, just to create a bigger sound almost. They're really far in the back. You have to really listen for them to hear them, but it adds such a dynamic.
Yeah, and it's there for some cool atmosphere too. You get some cool lead-ins, like the intro to the title track sounds like you're walking in a forest and you stumbled upon a cult that's about to burn someone alive, which, run. And then on Condemned you have some church bells and gothic choirs, and I want to say the sort of chorus chant on Dance with the Devil kind of reminded me of The Omen.
Yeah.
Like, for you, Damien! But flat out, this is just a really awesome immersive listen, and kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like, I really wasn't...
I didn't see this coming.
...expecting this to be as good as it was. And I'm pretty sure you can already tell that this was going to be a very positive review. I absolutely love this. This is pretty much all killer, no filler. The only thing I can knock it on was Dance with the Devil should have closed with the riff that it opened up with, because that riff was so good. But I liked how they closed it anyway, so it's really not a knock. That's it. This album is just loaded with hooks, brilliant choruses, great guitar work. Even the drum and bass work is fantastic too. The vocals are quite possibly some of the best I've heard this year in terms of clean singing.
Yeah.
This is just pure wow. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. I'm trying to not give albums 5 stars, but in spirit, this might be a 5-star one, but this is 4.5 for me. I love it. I'm going to jam the hell out of this. And this one may be creeping in my year-end list. I can almost guarantee it.
I'm going to be honest, man. I can't knock this album at all. I have no qualms. The production is brilliant. The musicianship is spectacular. The vocals are, like Nick said, just flawless. The perfect for what this band is. And I didn't see this coming at all. And if we still did track by track, ratings, I'd talk about every track on this album. I'm going to give it 5. I don't care. It's good. It's a damn good listen.
I agree with you, and I urge anyone to go out there, jam this one, buy a physical copy of this one, because it's totally worth it.
I'm probably going to go after work tomorrow and pick this up, because this, man, whew.
Yeah. Epic in every sense of the word.
Yep.
So, if you like the review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We will catch you later.
Take care.